the raiders I've met say the same thing. You cannot control what happens up there, but you can decide how you deal with it.
Breathe. Let your body settle into a slow rhythm. Clear your mind of all distractions. You don't have to walk this path alone. Here, you are in control.
All the raiders I've met say the same thing. You cannot control what happens up there, but you can decide how you deal with it.
Breathe. Let your body settle into a slow rhythm. Clear your mind of all distractions. You don't have to walk this path alone. Here, you are in control.
All right, boys, here we go. Let's get the show on the road, boys. How y'all been? It's been a heck of a week. Oof, man. Sly Ginger, man, thanks for coming for the chat. Appreciate you, Infinite X Gaming, man. Tired of having nobody to talk Ark about, right? That's what we're here. We're here to chill. We're here to cope and seethe, if you will, about not being able to play Ark Raiders. But hey, at least it's not 30 days until we get to play Ark Raiders, right? All right, real quick, I wanted to highlight the music that was used in the intro was produced by Padre Santo GG's. The links are in the description. Please check him out. Got his X out there. He's got other tracks too. So it's all Ark Raiders kind of related. He's kind of going in that route. So I look forward to seeing some more tracks of his. Maybe I'll get to use them too. You know, we'll see. Let's see here. Alex Warren watching all the bad takes from the people who are trying to ride the hype. Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of seeing that lately. Actually, it's interesting you brought that up. I was having this discussion. Holland, let's go, man. Let's go. I appreciate that. I've been seeing a lot of videos being dropped lately about like tips and tricks. One in particular I thought was kind of interesting. It said, you know, hey, all the changes that happened between tech test and launch. And I'm like, brother, how do you know that? Like on the one hand, I can't, can't bash him too much. I know the struggles of a content creation in terms of trying to get people to click on your videos is one of the biggest challenges. But at the same time, it's a little bit of a line. You know, there's a little bit of a kind of that line you don't want to cross to. I won't call it cringy, but it's like it feels like there's a maybe it's my imagination. Maybe there's this gray area between trying really hard to grab your attention and just going on to into like clickbait, cringy territory, you know. So it's and in terms of takes, I saw this one video. I get to finish it. It was kind of comparing it to Hunt and content and Arc Raiders, and I can't help that particular situation because it was clear the content creator was based around Hunt, so it's kind of like that's their point of reference. And so I it's a perspective thing, but at the same time, I just kind of find it interesting when people are putting out guides, like tips and things like that, this early on. Um, yeah, I agree. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of inferring going on, and this is one of the reasons why I um, don't like, just heads up. I don't plan on making a guide until the day of. Even if I'm going to put in all the work, even if I'm going to go ahead and just get all the research done, get all the recording ready, I don't want to put it out until I've had a chance to confirm it's accurate, right? Because to me, that would just like, that's one of my main goals. Is when I put out guides, it's going to be time effective. It's going to respect your time. It's not going to be longer than it needs to be. It's going to be entertaining, and it's going to be accurate. First and foremost, it's going to be accurate, right? I don't honestly remember. Joshua Holland was a Hunt creator, Psycho Ghost. I honestly don't remember, to be honest. I'm not trying to say that in kind of some kind of disparaging way. Like I can't be bothered to remember. Like I just don't remember. I just click on the video. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thumbnail. And that's kind of my thing. Is like, when someone makes a thumbnail that's with a certain kind of thing. Soldier for Life, man. Welcome to the stream, man. I'm glad you're able to make it. Alex Warren, I was thinking about an event idea for a stress test trio race to kill the queen would be cool. I was thinking about that actually. There was a lot of talk during the podcast about possible ranked stuff and what that could possibly be. I don't mean necessarily just ranked. I think it's also the trials, what they say by that and what they mean by that. Somebody had to do it. Somebody had to do it, man. Bob Word, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you, man. JCZ, loved the episode yesterday. Great job as always. I appreciate you, man. Though I don't think it came out yesterday though. Well, I think for you maybe it did because you're in New Zealand, if I remember. Mr. Man, how much content do you think there will be out there compared to Tech Test 2? I think there's gonna be a buttload of content. I think based off of what I've seen and heard, there are a lot of people that are looking to either reignite or start up their content creating journey with Arc Raiders, and good on them. I think it's one of those things where I think Rockhound Black gave me an interesting perspective about this, where you shouldn't worry too much about competition, because especially if you're dedicated to your craft, if someone else makes a guide that is basically the same guide as you do, but their version of it and your version of it, from a perspective of a audience, you get two cakes. It's even if their version, in my mind, if it's better, like, oh man, they made such a better cake. But in reality, you guys are getting two cakes. So maybe you guys get two versions of the same thing. It's going to give you a different perspective on that. So this is the upside in that. But to me, I would be dishonest if I didn't voice a little bit of I wouldn't say I call it complaint or something like that, but it's one of those, like, I think I don't know, I feel like try other things first. Like, that's one of the advices I always give people when they're like, hey, what should I want to do? I want to do content creation. Just start. Literally just start recording a video, start making videos now, because you're going to learn so much doing this than you are going to be able to by doing research or just waiting. And the worst thing you can do right now, like if you're a budding content creator looking to make content for Arc Raiders, the worst thing you could have been doing the last 3 months is nothing. Like legitimately nothing. Like, I don't mean like not putting videos up. Like, at least go learn video editing, go learn all that stuff, put the work in, so that way you're gonna be that much better when you're out. Like, I look at some of my old videos, even just 6 months ago, let alone 2-3 years ago. Like, man, I've come a long way in terms of my video editing skills, my pacing, audio, things like that. And so, if that's you, if that's somebody who, if you're like, hey man, I want to do content creation, go for it, bro. Like just instantly just start putting in the work now. I'm telling you right now, you're gonna learn by doing. You know. Hubrick, thank you so much for the follow, man. I appreciate you, man. Oh, real quick before we get started, I want to thank all these guys right down here. These my content, my channel supporters. They make what I do here easier. I appreciate every one of you for watching, clicking, and just being here and chatting and all that stuff. That's a ton of help. These guys right here, they donate, and they make what I do easier. So good on them. Give them a thank you when you see them as well. Let's see here. Let's bring this this screen up a little bit. All right. Let's enjoy this. All right, we're doing some fun here. Let's see here. And in terms of ranked, ranked is weird, right? Like having a chance now to actually play some ABI a little bit and kind of doing some research on how the systems actually work in regards to ranked. It's more of a progression system. It's not really so much ranked as it like every season you get to like work your way up using points and like based on how they're scoring, whatever it is. So it's just kind of another way to push yourself every season, I suppose. And so, I wouldn't mind seeing something like that for Arc Raiders, because it's not a direct, ranked, matchmaking type situation. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But I do feel like they need to find a way to escalate the lobbies, because the lobbies are gonna get escalated whether they like it or not. But as I put together in my wipes/clan video, the people who are going to get to the point where they feel like they need to escalate the lobbies themselves are going to have a disproportionate negative effect on the rest of the lobby. And so if Embark doesn't allow them an outlet for that, they're going to do it on the rest of the lobby, which is, I don't think it's going to be the healthiest thing in the world, So your Fluxliner, welcome to the chat, man. Welcome to the stream. Are PC players still subject to gadget wheel in the release version of the game? Unfortunately, yes. Based on, I'm not sure about the release version, because it has been some months since I've played the game. But in Tech Test 2, the gadget wheel was still a thing. To my dismay, I think I remember in the cycle I was always kind of pissed off that they would put all the grenades and such in the same thing as the healing, and it was annoying that they didn't separate the two. But I think it flows a little better. There's less slots to worry about. But still, it's probably they could do it better. But I think at the same time they're worried about controllers and they're worried about consoles. So it's give and take, making compatible to crossplay, things like that. So I feel like that's probably the better play in the end of the day. JCZ, I agree. I usually watch multiple guides because they usually have slightly different tips and tricks. There is still some competition though, so you can appear to be at the top of the results page. Yeah, of course. The way I look at this, right, from a content, this comes from insider baseball type stuff. Is like from a content creative side of things, I can either be big or I can be first or I can be good, right, and a combination of the three, right. Now I can't be big, right. That comes with an established audience. That comes with an established thing. I feel like if I don't know, like Shroud or Jack Black or not Jack Black, whatever. Name any of your favorite large creators. If they were going out of the way to make a guide for Arc creators, I think it would do fairly well, very well, because they have a built-in audience for it. Though I imagine their audiences are viewing them for very different reasons. So I can't be big. That's just not a category I can even compete in, right? Not right now, at least. I can be first, right? There's an issue with that in the sense that people are already putting out videos like 30 days beyond the point of doing that. So in terms of timing, obviously it comes down to the algorithm. You can put out a video like right when it comes out, because that's where people are going to be searching the most, or even the day before. But like I said before, I value being accurate pretty high. And so for me, I would have to see the build in making sure the things that I say in my guide are actually accurate, right? As opposed to just tripping over myself to be first. I give up the third category, which is to be good. And that's a thing that's firmly within my control. That's something I can control. I can put in the work. I can make the guide better. and I can increase the production. I can do all of that. And so I feel like a combination of good and, and plus also at the same time, I'm putting in the work now in terms of just consistent content, consistent hype and passion that I feel if someone were to look at, say, a guide that I put out the day of, and they're like, well, who's this guy? How long has he been playing the game? And they can look at my channel and be like, well, he's been at this for a while. And hopefully that counts for something. I can only hope. So we'll see at the end of the day. But one thing we know for sure, though, is going to be hype, right? There's going to be hype. Let's see here. Alex Warren, I think completing objectives and showing off your feats is much better idea. JCZ, more like skill-based matchmaking, kinda. Nodi, welcome to the chat, man. I feel like Ark is going to make extraction shooters go mainstream. I agree. I think it's going to be very, very attractive to a wide variety of people. Alex Warren, we will see if it goes mainstream. It really just depends on how much hype they can build getting their friends to play. I agree, man. I think what's going to happen, guys, if you haven't got at least one person or two to come and play this game with you for free on the weekend of the 17th and 19th, make it a personal challenge for yourself by the end of the week to have it locked in with somebody that you can game with, and just go, hey, one of these days we're going to get together, the 17th or the 19th, pick a time, and then bring them on in. And if you want a place where you can funnel into a group of people to play as well, we got the Discord down in the links. So we got a Discord building up. We're going to get, a nice big group, have always a plethora of people ready to go to group up with. Spooner Shield, get in the car to go home, man. Appreciate you, man, coming by. So Contra side, do you think they'll increase their gun degradation as opposed to wipes? I'm not sure, man, honestly. I think I've stated before in my Prestige video is that maintenance costs, if done too harshly, just effectively feel like an oppressive tax on individuals that aren't like the top 10% of the population, right? If they're not the top 10% of the population, it's gonna be unnecessarily penalizing for them, because all it does is basically it just raises the cost of the weapon over time. And people who are really good at acquiring money and evacing consistently, that doesn't move the needle for them, right? If you're good enough consistently, it doesn't do it for you. Because what you really need to think about a system like that is, think of it this way. If I can evac 70% of the time or higher, right? Or higher, which key thing here is if 70% of the time would be like the lowest end. If you can evac even like 80%, 90% of the time, right? How would this system affect me? How will I utilize that to affect me? And it feels like that's a spiral that's going to basically work past that kind of system. So I feel like they have to find a way around that, ISO Bandit, welcome to the chat, man. My plan with the stress test is just to log in and see if they fixed any of the locations where you can permanently stuck in the environment. Hey, man, good on you for finding them, because I didn't find any of them. If you found them, and I hope you reported them to the devs, because that's what tests are for, right? Papa Clutch, to be honest, I'm looking forward to the solo experience. Absolutely, man. I think that's important too. Like, I think some games, Marathon, really have lost sight of the fact that these kind of games have a huge solo population, who have a huge amount of people who just want to show up and play solo. And I think the important part of that to remember is it's not even just that the people who only play solo, is that if who I have consistent players to play with, if I hop on some odd hour and I just want to get like a quick game in before I need to do something or whatever it is, that's a solo experience. I want to have a good solo experience. I don't want it to leave. I don't want it to be a game where I can't play unless I have at least one or two people to play with, right? Because that's kind of sucky. Plus, I also want a situation where it's easier for you to find people to play with, like the random teammates that you can get, giving you all the tools you need to actually work with them. From what I've seen, it's not a bad system from what they've got. I've never had to utilize it, but like I know my son did, and he, it's a great way to just bring in like a budget kit or like a freebie kit and just kind of link up with two other people, and then depending on how you mesh, you might just follow up and group up afterwards. You know, I feel like a situation like that is really great for a game to grow because it grows communities organically. Contra side, I have 10 players to play Arc Raiders with. Dude, you are sitting pretty. You are sitting pretty. Nodi, do you think Ambar will make the cosmetics like they are in the finals? I'm not sure. Honestly, if you would have asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have been like, oh yeah, for sure. You know, but honestly, given the pre-order launch that we've seen and how they've phrased their items, I don't think so. I think the tech test 2 is basically an indication of what it's gonna look like. Take that for what you will. On the one hand, it's not as customizable as the finals. On the other hand, I don't know what to do with my hands. On the other hand, it's also harder for them to have people break immersion by making up some ungodly combination, right? So I think that's kind of like what they've done is like the middle ground. Just like here's a suit and all the different variations that you can use on it, and then it goes from there. How you feel about that? I feel like on an individual level, that's gonna be on you. That's gonna be like depends on how you feel about that. I'm on the fence on it, if I'm being honest. Papa Clutch, I'm a big advocate for community goals with player-specific rewards, encouraging people to grind. It encourages people to extract with more and donate it to Speranza. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a great idea. Papa Clutch, I'm not sure if you've seen my defensive Speranza video. I made a video on a community event around a possible defensive Speranza. Kind of a concept idea. It's on my YouTube. Is the defensive Speranza. I think I put together something pretty cool for this game on that regard. Of course, I'm biased in that regard, but yeah, they absolutely could make events like that, and that could be a great way to push certain mechanics in terms of like not really wipes, but like ways to kind of cycle gear out of the situation. Countryside Dam is the only map we are getting in the slam. Yes, we are only getting. Not only are we only getting. Not only are we getting just one map, the way in which they describe the progression for the server slam also indicates that we're going to have a reduced progression. And so, as I've predicted in the podcast, what's going to happen, I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is that anyone who's played the game already is going to go, all right, cool, here's Dam, played it, I'm going to go and get hyped and do my missions and do all the things I need to do in order to grind up and all that kind of good jazz. And then as soon as they feel like they hit any kind of wall, or they're just like, all right, cool, I'm kind of done doing this mission stuff, I'm going to go PvP now. And you're going to get really aggro lobbies really fast. I feel like that's probably going to happen. At least in non-solo lobbies. I feel that's what's going to happen. Could be wrong. I hope I am wrong. But I just see the natural events occurring that way. So, let's see here. Alex Warren, Queen race? Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sure if it's going to be a race type situation, but I think if they have it available, because here's the thing, you're assuming that that's available, right? They might not have that available, you know, because they did say they're going to cap. They're only going to give us a taste, so they might not even give us that. Is it possible, JCZ, is it possible we could get a new event as a teaser, even with just the one map? I doubt it, though. I'm not sure, man. I know for reasons I cannot get into that they have the ability to generate events in game. I know that they can make something happen if they wanted to. So it's just a matter of, do they want to, right? Here. All right, real quick, guys. I want to take a moment to thank you guys for showing up and just chilling, chatting about Arc Raiders, being hype about it, and being super excited about the game, giving us all a chance to kind of talk to each other, chat. Um, you know, Nodi, I didn't get a chance to play the tech test, but were the snipers one-shot kill to the head at all? So a couple of things, stipulations to what you're saying there. Let me change the. Hold on here. Let me change the raid that we have right now. Okay, let's give us a different one. So there's only one real sniper, so to speak, sniper. Is called the Osprey, and no, it did not one shot to the head. But the key thing you have to consider is that most of the time people are wearing armor, they're wearing shields, and so if you had no shield on and you were hit by something a little harder, called either the Pharaoh or the Anvil, anything that had heavy ammo, and you got hit in the head, with it not outside their range, you could get one shot that way. But that's literally the only time you can get one shot. So that's the, I think that's a strength, because this game you don't have to worry about getting, losing all your gear, getting snapped in the head out of nowhere. I know some people prefer it that way, but there's a little bit of forgiveness built into this game that I think is what it's attracting. Right? Alex Warren, thank God it didn't. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Osprey was kind of meh, to be honest. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's incredibly good at what it did in terms of hitting accurate shots at really long ranges, but at the ranges that it's at the ranges that the Osprey was good at, right? You generally weren't finishing fights, right? That's just generally you weren't. However, at the ranges in which you were using a Renegade, at that range you can generally finish fights, and so I feel like if you're fighting at a distance in which you're could possibly be hitting someone with a Renegade instead of an Osprey, the Renegade is better in almost every situation. And so I feel like it's, I don't know, with the way the game plays, the Osprey, which is the sniper for those of you who don't know, it's a pretty niche gun. That doesn't get a lot of use. So like I was saying before, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, thank you so much for showing up and being a part of this, being part of the chat, being part of the community. I really appreciate all of you. I am trying to bolster my numbers in other platforms, as it generally is a source of data collection for developers or any would-be sponsors, things of that nature. And so they're gonna look at the holistic picture. Unfortunately, that means I gotta increase my presence in Twitch and X, things like that. So if it were up to me, I'd be on YouTube and call it a day. That was it, and that'd be it. But unfortunately, I gotta do all that. So if you guys can. If you guys can't, that's fine. But if you guys can, give a quick follow over on Twitch. You can leave a lurk on Twitch. That helps with those things as well. But if you can't, we're chilling. We're having fun here anyways. Countryside, shotguns are scary. Countryside, you have to respect the sniper. It's not scary. Exactly, right. I think I have a clip when I was rocking the Osprey for a decent amount of time, and I was putting work in. But at the same time, I think a lot of that was I'm putting damage out there, and I was not really fighting them. It was like we're just poking each other from a distance, and they had buddies that I could res them again. And a lot of times, if I knocked somebody, it's because they messed up. It's like it's not because I was, that weapon was particularly clean or anything like that. It's because they messed up. So yeah, shotguns are scary. Yeah, they were a bit overtuned. I think even the devs kind of pointed that out, especially the Volcano. The El Toro I felt like was in a good spot, because they couldn't generally one-shot you, and the time it took for you to pump and then shoot another one. Josie, someone had to do it, man. Josie, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate you, man. So it was one of those things where, how do I put this? Let's move this over here. It's the shotguns. Damn. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you, man. Nodi, thank you for sweeping up over here. Someone had to do it. The shotguns, I felt like the El Toro was in a good place, right? I felt like it was scary at close range, which it should have been. And the pump was just enough time between the first shot and the second, to where if you had a good submachine gun and you weren't completely up in their grill, you had a chance of winning. Of course, you know, Grubbs here is kind of being a surgical monster with this thing in the dark. I'm just gonna watch this again. Yeah, that kid can absolutely. Oh, device is trash. What's up? Welcome to the stream, man. Someone say Grubbs. Yes, someone said Grubbs. We're watching you play surgery with the shotgun. By the way, guys, that other guy just showed you. Unless they change something drastic from Tech Test 2 to launch, don't ever use those light impact grenades. Like, they're just absolute doo-doo. It's, I mean, if someone wants to tell me otherwise, you can tell me otherwise. Some of a great experience you had, but like, I feel like the amount of damage that they did, the little splash they had, the amount of time it takes for you to wind up and throw them, you're exposing yourself to all kinds of shots while you're doing that. So there's almost no, you know, weapon that couldn't out damage you, even if you hit your shots with the light impact grenade, which is harder than with a regular gun, you know. But yeah, so let's see here. But in terms of the trials for, you know, the quote unquote ranked mode, I don't think it's a ranked mode, but like there's a lot of ways you can do that. Cause I feel like they could have like achievements. Cause imagine this, right? Hey, you can make like a group or a squad or whatever it is, right? And part of this trial process is getting a Bastion, a Rocketeer, and a Bison kill in one run. Right? That could be a challenge, like a trial, you know. And you imagine that's pretty difficult, you know. I don't necessarily, it's not just the killing of the arcs themselves, because you can equip yourself properly and there's just 3 of you. It shouldn't be that hard. It's just a matter of, can you do it while also avoiding getting killed by other players and then getting out, you know. LMAO, we talked about this in a comment thread. I think they could be good since they do only health damage, but only to finish someone off. I don't believe they only did health damage, man. I don't think I saw a single. I think you're thinking about the blaze grenades, like the fire grenades. Dog with the butter, man. I actually do think the trials will be PvE focused, yeah, but it's still a PvE environment. And I imagine there will be new arcs and bosses for that as well. I like killing the queen, or probably be a trial. Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to just they could be PvE challenges, so long as they're not in a PvE only mode. I'm fine with it, and as long as they have some reasonable results that you actually want to get, you know. Nodi, in your opinion, is there anything that you fear might hold this game back from it becoming mainstream? I feel like a lack of content and a lack of endgame to really hold people, right? I think it has a really great new person experience. It really has a really great new player experience, and like the initial buy of you getting in, right? But in terms of holding people in the long run, I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle. Embark is good at pumping out content, I think. Jeep Vol, can we play this game already? Nope. 17th to the 19th, man. We're watching old footage. That's all we can do right now. And we're chatting, you know. If you want to hang out, chat a little bit, we can do our thing. But if you haven't heard, there's a stress test going on from the 17th through the 19th. It's free. Pre-orders are open. And so we're chilling. We're doing all that. But I think like the content is going to be the biggest holdup. They've done that well with the finals. But But I think, well, let's go. Let's bring the spaceports. Let's bring the actual one we were talking about. Ospreys. Let's bring the actual match where I got the most Ospreys working. But I think endgame is going to be the big thing. Like right now, I look at ABI, for those of you who haven't played, right? And I kind of came back into it. I'm starting to play it a little bit again, just kind of just, you know, something to pass the time. And, you know, to hang out with my son and all that. Like, I look at it, I'm like, cool. I'm like, hey, man, I got this many millions, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Then I look at people who have, like, legitimately, basically infinite money. And I have to ask myself, okay, if I were to get to a point where I feel like I'm not really losing anything anymore, and there's no point because I'm just infinitely rich, I'm going to feel compelled to, at that point, to either to do something. You know, as a content creator, I have a lot of options in terms of what I can do, in terms of like just to generate content, things like that. But in terms of just as a player, you know, I'm going to need something else to hold me. I'm going to need something to like make me want to feel like that rush again, as opposed to just like, oh, okay, I lost another kit, whatever, you know. Solid Ginger, maybe see weapons like rusty compound bow in the game, so I can relive my Last of Us fantasy. I mean, honestly, you're gonna find some kind of bow type situation that's gonna have like some kind of benefit to it, but I think it's probably gonna be more like darts. You know, gonna be like have you ever seen the movie Gladiator where they have like the 4-way crossbow where it's kind of rotating and whatnot? I can easily see them soon doing kind of like futuristic version of that. Who knows? Maybe you can use different kind of darts. You know, kind of like the grenade launcher, having the explosives, or having the darts being stun oriented, right? Where they do a lot more stun damage than they do hardly any damage. So it's be really great against arcs. Jay, but Volk, did you also played Active Matter? I played Active Matter in a closed alpha under NDA, so I can't really talk about my experience there. But I have a good friend who is on the podcast of Alcoholics, who has done a lot more gaming there, and unfortunately, that game is dealing with a lot of issues that I think they have to overcome in order to kind of get back into the conversation again in terms of viable extraction games that they're going to be. I think they're a little too close to ABI, and I think ABI is kind of on a hot streak right now when it comes to getting people's attention in that genre of game. Dog with the butter. I wonder if people would like if the leaderboard was based on best time, like how fast you can complete specific trial. It's kind of hard in a game like this, right? Because it's like, think of it. A lot of people complain at how short a raid time is already, right? And I feel like putting things based on time kind of undercuts the extraction shooter feel, where survival is king rather than aggression. And so I'm not sure if the time thing, there might be some time trials, but I'm not sure if that should be the basis for a lot of it. Alex Warren, have you heard a date on Sand? Nah, man, dude, I'm consistently checking that Discord. I have to check it one more time right now, actually. Nothing new. Nothing new. Yeah, they said next week, and that was last week. So, that was last Friday when they said that. So we might get Thursday, Friday. You know. Dvusi, yo, just pre-ordered the deluxe, man. Congratulations, congratulations. We are full of hype. $60 lighter, but full of hype. Alex Warren been using ABI for practice. Yeah. I hope they get rid of this, by the way. I'm not sure if you guys see this right here. I'm going to pause this real quick. Someone brought this to my attention after the fact because I wasn't really paying attention to this. I hope they get rid of this in the game, in Arc Raiders. If you look at, I'm going to toss a grenade, right? Right? I explodes. I get the sound for the knock, but I'm going to pause this right now. It's not the sound that's important. If you look at what is up here, let me move this real quick here. Right. So right there. If you guys see that, that tells me that I knocked him, right? And so I really hope that things like that, in terms of arc like raider damage, arc knocks, like we don't have hit markers, and I really like that. But I feel like that kind of system right there is kind of just basically giving me the way to optimize my damage. And like, okay, I know how much I need to push him. I know how much damage I did to him. I feel like hopefully they can find a way to clean that up a little bit to where it's not so useful in a fight. You know. Falziana, how are you playing this as a pre-record? No, this is all from a tech test too, man. Thanks so much for dropping by. Yeah, it's tech test 2. We're here chilling. We're talking about Arc Raiders. We're being hyped. This is all old footage of me and Grubs playing, and so we're just chit chatting about the game basically. The Vulzi played the finals when it dropped. I don't even care if the game is good and Bark is worth it. Yeah, man. Honestly, it's like, how's the PvP? Oh, dude, I love it. I think it's really great. How do I describe it? It's basically like, okay, so it's not run and gun, right? It's not a movement shooter or anything. It's not run and gun, right? But it's also not a milsim game, right? You got some movement, but it's not so overblown that like you can just kind of like zip zap and around whatnot. Damage is significant enough that it sticks because the way you heal in this game takes a little bit of time, and so your moves matter. Your positioning and your aim, you hitting your shots matter. And so the pacing is this nice little sweet middle spot between a game that is like, I don't know, Apex and like Tarkov. You know, it's nowhere near the two, but it's like right in the middle to this point where it feels tactical but not suffocating, if that makes sense. Alex Warren, and that's an easy fix, right? Just delay it like 30 seconds after no combat has happened. That's an easy fix. You can just simply go have those hit marker, not hit markers, those hit indications, those damage indications, like this, basically your XP gain, but just kind of delay them a little bit more, you know? Just delay them a little bit more. And I think one of the things that speaks to my love of this game is, for those of you who've played the Cycle Frontier, like let's get some hype in the chat here. Anyone here is a former Cycle Frontier refugee? Go and let it be known in the chat. You know, TCF refugee. If you've played the Cycle Frontier, and so when I was coming off of the Cycle Frontier, it had basically, just announced its shutdown, and I got a chance to play this game. I got the chance to play Arc Raiders in a really early state in 2023. And without breaking the NDA, which I'm still subject to, is that I felt like, and Arc Raiders still does this, felt like it took all of the things that the Cycle Frontier did good about combat, and then took away a lot of the things that the Cycle Frontier did bad about combat. Because for me, I wasn't a big fan of the whole slide jump thing aspect of the game, where you kind of basically we were kind of tactical, but then you can just like slide jump and then move crazy. It wasn't my thing, right? This has a role, but that role eats up so much stamina that it cannot possibly be a thing that you sustain. Alex Warren had to quit because cheaters wasn't having fun. Yeah, and honestly, here's the funny thing about that, Alex, is that those cheaters were mostly predominant in season 1, and they basically just got, they pretty much got handled as of season 2, for the most part. It also depended on the lobbies you were in, obviously, as well. But like if you were like pretty high up there in terms of skill sets in lobbies, obviously you get targeted a little bit more. But it got handled pretty much in season 2. But the problem was that once the cycle got known as being the hacker game, it died a slow death at that point. Legends, the Gorgon laser rifle was my favorite. Yeah, actually, I had to learn to love that gun, honestly. I liked the phasic burst rifle until they nerfed it into the ground, Well, they didn't nerf it to the ground, but they just nerfed it. Had this cool aesthetic of like being a plasma rifle. Hey, hold up. Let's rewind this real quick. We were talking about the Osprey earlier. Right, so for those of you who are kind of curious about sniping in this game, you're about to see it right here. And let's see if we can bring in... Hold up. Let's have some fun here. Boop, boop. Arc footage. Let's bring that over here. All right. So this is the Alex Warren. I was in Korea at that point, so my cheater situation was way worse. So Alex Warren, were you in the service in Korea? Because I was stationed over at Camp Casey from 06 to 07. So I'm fairly familiar. So let's look at the sniping here. You might get some of my comms here, so I apologize. I don't know which. Yeah, there was only really one like sniper. There's plenty of rifles. There's plenty of rifles. Right, so you can see basically 3 shots, body shots, it looks like, took him out. He's probably rocking a medium shield, maybe even a light shield, to be honest. I broke it on the second hit, so probably a light shield, to be honest. So he might have been like 1 shot. Oh, Humphreys, yeah. He might have been like 1 shot after that hit him for the second time. So, Root Basket, what content are you most excited to see and make when the game launches? I'm excited to make guides, right? Because that's kind of like the root of where I came from in terms of making content. And the reason why I started that way and why I'm also excited to kind of get back to that is that I did not like extraction shooters at all. Like, it was just not my thing, right? But I thought it wasn't my thing until I finally tried out the Cycle Frontier. And then I loved it. And I realized, oh, I can see why people are not playing this genre. Not to mention the fact, bring that down a little bit. Not to mention the fact that, what can I say? There wasn't a lot of options back then, right? There wasn't a lot of options, right? It was just basically the Hunt. It was Hunt and Tarkov, and then finally Cycle came out. Okay, and so then when I finally just kind of go, okay, well, what can I do to help this game that I really love, help it survive? I can see the writing on the wall. I can see that it was going to die. So like, you know what? Let me do the one thing that I can do is just maybe make guides about the game that helps new players get into this game and stay in this game a little longer. All right, Debussy, I don't like extraction shooters. Think they do this one well. Yes, I do believe they do this one well. And I think that's kind of the thing that I've always struggled with in terms of trying to figure out a good extraction game, is that it's not a new person friendly genre. So if you can figure out a way to get new players in, right, and kind of ease them into the process, but at the same time not completely disregard the harshness of the genre that makes it appealing, you'll have a good game. And I feel like that's always been the hard part, and a lot of developers, unfortunately, have jumped in and saw Tarkov. They're like, cool, be like them. That's always what they've been doing. Like Gray Zone Warfare, be like Tarkov. ABI, be like Tarkov. Dead Zone, be like Battlefield, but also in our ops mode, be like do the damage like Tarkov. And so I feel like there are so many games that were trying to be like that, and it just left this huge gap between Hunt and all of them. And it's Root Basket, that's sick. Making videos for community building is a great goal. Yeah, and the thing about it is, it's also, it's one of those things where, from a personal perspective, what kind of content do I want to see? Would I want to engage with? I make that kind of content. I love guides. Whenever I get into a game, even if it's just cursory, because I don't want to jump in blind. So I love looking at guides. And man, nothing makes me so confident about Alex Warren, dude. You are a G, man. You're an absolute G. Thank you so much for subscribing. Dude, you have no idea. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And Ryan Carter, how do you think this is different compared to other extractions? Is it the simplicity? All right, so here's a key thing, right? It's not that it's simple, right? About, all right, I'm here enough, right? Fair is fair. It's not the simplicity, right? Because there's some depth to this game. But it's also, I feel like it's sci-fi. Like, first and foremost, it's sci-fi. So that allows a certain level of creativity in terms of what they can do for balance and gameplay. So they're not stuck with like, oh, the M4 has XYZ caliber, it shoots XYZ fast, it's supposed to do roughly this amount of damage, it's supposed to have this much weapons, it's supposed to have this much bullets in the magazine, whatever, right? So they're kind of stuck with that. But this is a sci-fi universe. So long as it makes sense within the universe, they can do a lot. So they can create a lot of balance. The second thing is, as well, is its pacing, right? Is that it is deadly enough to where you don't feel like you're gonna run around in the open and you have no worries. Oh yeah, I can just dodge my way out of this, right? It's deadly enough to where it gives you that tension, but it's not so unforgiving that you feel robbed by not getting the first shot off, you know? Real estate, what's going on, man? Here we go. Good luck trying to explain that, Gecko. Oh, man, I'm trying. I think it's, there's that. And I think the key difference between Arc Raiders, for example, and then maybe going towards like the Hunt side of things, Hunt has no looting. There's no economy really to speak of, right? And if you really feel, and I've heard somebody call this, the whole looting is called, I heard somebody call looting a time-wasting mechanic, right? Which I think is silly. But it's, if you want that aspect of looting, of scavenging for resources and crafting, I think it does it well. And I think real estate gaming is saying it right. There's really nothing that's going to really emphasize it. But if I have to tell you the difference, right? Like, okay, well, you don't like extraction shooters, okay? The Woolsey, same universe as finals? I don't believe so, but some people will disagree with that. McDorley NZ, evening all. Do we think Embark will implement guilds or clans at all into the game? I hope so. Sludge Ginger, I like loot too, man. So to ask the question here, Dvulzi, I'm gonna ask you: is there anybody here, who this is gonna be their first extraction game, and you previously did not like extractions? In the chat, why not? Like, why did you not previously play extractions, and now obviously you're going to be playing Arc Raiders because you're here, right? So why didn't you play extractions previously? And then I can probably nail down exactly where Arc Raiders can solve that, statistically speaking, or it doesn't. That's a possibility, or certainly. Alex Warren, succinctly put. I like that a lot. I'm going to say that out loud. It's simple. You can die fast, but not instant. If you play well, you will not die without a fight. Boom. Succinct as always. Real Estate Gamer, that's a great one too. If you like extraction shooters, you will love this game. If you don't like extraction shooters, you will still like it. It just depends. You know, like, I know a lot of people who like extraction shooters who are not necessarily thrilled with Arc Raiders, because they like extraction shooters for different reasons, right? And I think that's kind of key, because if you think about why you like certain games, it's important to nail down exactly why, right? Dwoozy, boring. Seemed like a lot of work just to fight bots. What game were you referring to, Dwoozy? I'm curious. Is it like Hunt? Is it like Tarkov? Delta Force? I appreciate the statement, but maybe keep that a little bit. Let's try to nail that down. Sly Ginger, I didn't play Extraction until the Cycle Frontier because Tarkov didn't seem fair to play and want a more creative setting to the genre. I agree. Heligons, my opinion on extraction shooter experience is more on the lines of solo fighting groups because I don't know how many people who play games, but solo I always fight groups. That's also important too. I think the solo experience is super important. We talked about that earlier. I think Arc Raiders does this really, really well. Oh, DMZ, Helldivers. Gotcha. Okay. I think this does a really good job of kind of putting solos in their own lobbies, but it's not a guarantee. I think that's the key difference. I think the key difference is it's not a guarantee, which means you can't just kill someone and just assume, okay, cool, danger's over. Right? So, you know. Zavolzi, DMZ, Helldivers. Yeah, I mean, that's... If your first experience with an extraction game is DMZ, I think you may be misinterpreting what an extraction game is, right? Because though technically DMZ is an extraction game mode, in my opinion, Heligons, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you, man. I think is, how do I put this? The reusing of those loadouts, the loadouts that keep coming back and keep playing, and keep resetting, completely undercuts the tension that you're supposed to feel when you lose things. So I feel like, and there's a lot of bots, there's a lot of AI, and it also depends on how the AI is handled, right? Because I feel like Arc Raiders has a good amount of AI, but it's not so clustered that you feel like you're constantly fighting bots, right? And I feel like the difficulty of the AI is great because it's, if you're prepared and you respect it, right, and you know how to fight them, they're not that hard to deal with. But as soon as any one of those three things goes away, they will kill you. They will straight up murder you. Even a combination of a Wasp and a Hornet, which are the two of the lightest, some of the lightest arcs there are. You know, if they catch you out in the open, you might be donezo. Somebody had to do it, man. Ed the Dead. Love the name. Appreciate you, man. But yeah, I think that's a big factor as well. Like, you got to be able to feel that it's somewhat fair. And so, real quick, man, actually, before I forget, so to kind of like tying together everything that you kind of talked about regarding the not liking extraction shooters before and the reasons, basically kind of feel like a lot of work just to fight bots. I feel like Arc Raiders can fix that, right? In the sense that it does it differently. Like I said before, the bots themselves, in terms of the arcs, are numerous enough in the map, and they roam enough to where it's always adds to the tension. It does, and it's not so many of them that you can't avoid them. In some cases, but then the players themselves, because people spawn, they layer the spawns into the game, so there's always players kind of coming in essentially. There's always a little bit of friction in terms of PvP, right? It's not so much that you can't ever get a game where you have zero PvP, but it's not overbearing either. You know, if I articulated that great, you know. Yeah, Alex Warren, a tick can catch you at a bad time and get you killed, you know. Yeah, real estate gamer. The one negative I could give them is a character design customization. Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably one of the two things I hit in my review after the initial tech test was their customizations, right? And so I felt like it was a little lacking in terms of the facial constructions. I'm like, it was severely lacking. So I hope that was just because they didn't have all their options there, you know. Yeah, Devuzi, I'm gonna give this game an honest shot. I think I wrote the genre off. Yeah, I mean, it's the same. I agree. I was the same way until I got into the cycle, right? And then once I understood exactly why I liked it, right? And here's the thing. Um, it's important to understand why you like the game that you like, right? And so for me, I figured out, well, I like the Cycle Frontier. Let me go try playing Hunt. And with those two, I kind of figured out, okay, well, I like games that where I have risk and I risk my loot. I like the games where, and also like games where I'm not forced to be last man standing, like a BR type situation. I like the ability to like decide how aggro I want to be, if I want to extract or I want to push my luck and fight some more. But I don't like games where I can just suddenly die out of nowhere with no fight. And so for me, that precluded a lot of the already existing games in the genre. You know, sun's going down, so my green screen's starting to show a little bit. Midichlorians, I love that everything matters: sound, AI, aggro, positioning, comms. Yes, it's all really great balance, man. Uh, so you're cold. I'm sure you have probably spoke about this, but there has been any news about how this game will progress? I mean, if there's like a campaign arc that will be followed. Thanks for more info, man. Yeah, for sure, man. It's the missions themselves are kind of story based, and at a certain point, this is during the tech test, mind you. After a certain amount of missions, you kind of have like a progression of the story a little bit, and so that's I imagine there's going to be a progression of story. Lucy, how often do you say you run into other players? Pretty consistently, right? I ran into players pretty consistently. It was one of those. Let's change it up here. New guy, thank you so much for the follow. Casual player, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate y'all. I ran into players often enough to where I wouldn't say I would guarantee at least a little bit of PvP every game, but enough to where if I was betting on a game on me not engaging in PvP, that was a pretty low odds. It's pretty low odds. So you ran into them at least you got at least one fight, give or take, every match, with a few exceptions. With a few exceptions, but I would say my average for most of my raids, about 2 fights, or less. Sometimes Alex Warren, all right, I have to go. Nice night. Thank you so much, man. Thanks so much for coming by. Thank you so much for your support. You have a good night. I will see you again next week during chat or on one of my videos I'll be putting out this weekend. All right. Let's see here. In terms of vigor, I never got the pleasure of playing it. Based on everything that I saw, it wasn't something that appealed to me. Plus, also, it was only on console. I'm a PC player specifically. So, I never got a chance to really dive into that. Nodi, I feel like a arc raiders will have a massive effect on extractors, like how Fortnite had on BRs. Absolutely, I think people are they're kind of making the analogy that Tarkov is PUBG, and arc raiders might be Fortnite, right? And kind of really start expanding the genre at that point. And I imagine probably in about 5 to 6 years, you're gonna have like 3 solidly, firmly positioned extraction shooters like you do in the BR space. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Why slow? Hey, Gecko, started watching the podcast a few months ago. You and Rockhound have helped drastically with my alcohol withdrawal. I appreciate you, man. That's kind of what we do too. It's our Alcoholics Anonymous meetings that we just kind of publish. Alex Warren, I just can't wait to hear the sound again, man. Dude, you and me both, man. You and me both. Yes, the Vuzi raid is like one game, right? And so basically, You have your, what do you call it? Your stash space, your home essentially, and you have all your stuff that's there. Everything that's in there is perfectly safe, and excuse me, everything there is perfectly safe, and only things that you put on and then go into a raid with are lost on death. And then you go on a raid, and then yeah. Soldier, so I guess Marathon's going to be H1Z1. Oh, he didn't. He didn't. All right. I mean, maybe, man. Who knows? It might be Apex Legends for all we know, right? You might be Apex Legends. If they get their act together, I see potential in the game, but I don't know, man. I feel like Marathon is such a lore-rich game. Like, imagine if they were to make an extraction shooter based off of Halo. Like, imagine that, right? And then due to that, what they did to Marathon, right? Because for the most of you aren't familiar with Marathon, right? Neither am I. But like, I have interacted with Jake the All Right. He's a huge Marathon guy, great content creator. And imagine if they were to make Halo an extraction game, and then Marathon is what you got, right? That would be god awful. You'd feel like, what the heck? What are you doing? They could do so much better. Real Estate Gamer Figure is terrible. They are limited in what they can do because of their sister company game being DayZ and them not being allowed to step on their toes. Very predatory microtransaction pay to win features and vigor. Can't really comment on that. I don't know. Redchlorians would be nice if Speranza is an actual social hub like Destiny Tower. I disagree fully, utterly. I think I've said that almost every single stream, and I'm going to be very short and sweet with it at this point. All the work that you would have to do in order to make a social hub is something you could be doing on something else, like a map, a new gun, new arcs, new content, new mission thing, anything else that would 100% of the player base would prefer to see, because that's the trade-off, right? That's just my thing. I don't see that a social hub adds anything to this game. Like, I don't, like, other than immersion, it doesn't add anything. Like, not in my opinion, but who knows? Maybe maybe Embark is so absolute goated that they can make a version that I'm not thinking of, and then just make it actually work. It's a Soldier for Life, but they have a better chance making Destiny out of an extraction looter shooter. Yeah, dude. Honestly, if they could have just made a extraction mode in Destiny, they would have saved themselves so much work. For starters, they wouldn't have to steal. For starters, they wouldn't have had to steal art. Let's go with that. They wouldn't have had to steal art. But then they could have just, all that work they put into Destiny, and like all the items, the art, like all that, all the coding, they could have just made an extraction mode out of Destiny, just like Delta Force did with their mode, So it's just, I don't know, man. Bungie is not what it used to be. That's for sure. Hitman, I with Chris access to the tech test, never got in, so I'm definitely feeling to finally go topside myself. Dude, honestly, you might be better off than the rest of us, because those of us who actually play the game, I can tell you right now, these videos don't do it justice. So those of us who've played the game are probably fiending harder. So you might have just saved yourself a lot of months of hardship there. Wazlo, I just hope the trader menu will at least be animated, which I assume it will. It was. It absolutely was. It was probably one of the better menus in terms of immersion that I've seen, because it's not just like a spreadsheet on the wall. Here, I can just show it to you guys. Let's bring that up. Let's see here. No, nope. Let's see here. And honestly, this is not going to do it justice, right? Because you're hearing the trader talk to you. It's animated. There's really a lot of good kinetic sounds that are being made when you're purchasing things. I mean, it's kind of low. We're chatting here. The real estate gamer, it's great for looking for groups, showing off gear, and socializing with the community. I disagree. I don't think you're doing any of those things in there. Right? I'm gonna. That's like anyone who's I've played plenty of games that where you have the socialize, where you have this hub, and none of that stuff happens. And so I don't know, man. I feel like they have to make it in such a way that it has to like really, really, really like facilitate that stuff. Otherwise, you're wasting time. You know, that's just me. Um, and the problem is that like whenever someone brings it up, like you just did right now, is making it optional. Why put all that work into something that's optional? Precisely because the people who there are so many people who don't want, who don't want to use it. Oh yeah, the menus themselves are a little bit more still. Um, yeah, dude, that's the OG Destiny. I played. I think it was Destiny 2 was my only experience with Destiny. I did none of that. Like I did none of that. Right? Might have been a personal experience, right? Because this is gonna be just the things that I did. And maybe I didn't spend enough time in that game to do that. But that's kind of my point, right? Like you want this is the genre itself. You want to come in, and the raid is the game, right? The raid and the stash. That's really what a extraction shooter is. It's the raid and it's the stash. That's the only two things that this game is. Trying to force it into doing something else, I don't think it's gonna make the game better, right? And that's really what it comes down to. I don't think it's gonna add anything to this game that where the majority of people want to use it. So. Madeline G, welcome to the stream, man. Sean, welcome to the stream, man. How you been? Just hours away to finally say it's release month. Yeah, right? We will soon be in Arctober. We will soon be in Arctober, guys. Yeah, midichlorians. Here's the thing, right? Like that's literally the only argument that I've seen people bring up consistently about Soul is MUT immersion. Like I don't buy it. Like I don't, because if you think about like the way they did the menus was so good in terms of like the animations that they had, the sound effects, and the passive sound of the background, like the PA systems and like all of that. It helped reinforce the fact that you're in a living, breathing, uh, you know, world, but it's not where you should be spending your time. And that's the key thing. Like you should be spending your time going in raid. Right? That's what you should be doing. And that's kind of my point. Like it's not really adding anything to the game. The Four Horsemen are how are you playing if it's not released? I'm not Z hands. It's recording. It's from a previous tech test. No, that's fine. You don't have to apologize. I mean, it's like we can disagree. We can have fun. We can both like the same game. Um, it's just one of those things where I'm gonna be pretty firm about that in terms of I don't see it. You know. Surf Cold, I'm with you. Nodi and Bark should have a referral bonus swag. I got 2 of my friends to buy. So damn ready to head topside, dude. That would be kind of cool. A referral program, you know. Midichlorian, there will be a lot of crafting as well, though. Yeah, actually, let's talk about that. That's one of the things I really like about Arc Raiders is that its crafting economy is very heavy. There's no like player-driven market. I cannot stand player-driven markets, honestly. And it would be, yeah, this is just my old footage, Horseman. This is just my own footage I put up there. Right? All game, no tower socialization. That's right, real estate. It was just playing the game. But the crafting in the game I really enjoyed because I've made a whole video on this, right, about crafting in markets. Is that the moment I can just buy whatever I want, every single loot piece that I pick up becomes a Tetris glob of a dollar value. That's all it becomes. I'm only going to fixate on things that give me the highest return on investment for my backspace, and that's it. There's no personalization. There's no, story behind you going to a place crafting and grabbing certain things. Like why do I care if I see a steel spring? I'm just going to sell it anyways, right? I want that steel spring because that's the key component I need to make an extended magazine for my Stitcher, right? And that's the key thing, right? Like that steel spring. Oh, I see it. Oh man, I need it. I need that. That represents a extended magazine, right? Or I can bring it to my refiner and turn it into mechanical components or something like that. So then I can then use that to build an anvil or something. And that's, to me, that speaks bigger. That's more personal because I have to find specific items. But if you turn that around and you put a player-driven market into it, like, it doesn't matter what I pick. Okay, I'll pick up a spring. How much is that worth? All right, I'm going to go sell it on the market. I'm going to get XYZ and I buy whatever. It's just, don't get me wrong, I get the upside. The upside is that you're not subject. The story is that you're not subject to RNG. And so you can just get what you want, right? As opposed to worrying about where you need to get. But I feel like what that does is that makes certain parts of certain maps basically the only places you want to go because that's where all the high value stuff is at, so you can sell. Even in the areas where it's not high value, but it has specific items that you're looking for, right? That area now becomes high value to you. And so then you path to that area and someone else is pathing to somewhere else. Boom, organic conflict, right? Whereas if it's just player-driven markets, it's just about the money. Cool, I'm going to go here. You're going to go here. And we're going to fight there over and over and over and over again because that's where all the high-value stuff is at. So I feel like the crafting in this game is really great on multiple levels, not just on the loot story aspect of it, but in terms of where it drives you in terms of where you're going as a raid. Waslow, I just started playing Arena Breakout and it's fun, but the instant team TK is annoying. I love that Arc Raider seems to have a much slower combat, no one taps. Yes, that's definitely a big upside to Arc Raiders. If you're looking to play more Arena Breakout in the meantime, you're looking for people to group up with, you can join the Discord. We got a few people in there to play Arena Breakout as well. So, maybe you can find someone to help pass the time. Four Horsemen, I have a problem with Arc Raiders. When I first saw the footage a month or so ago, I thought it was dumb and boring. Then I started playing Delta Force 3 weeks ago, and now I want to play Arc Raiders. That's kind of interesting. Because it depends on the footage you're seeing, right? Because, like, I remember seeing leaks of the original tech test in 2023. Like, someone leaked the footage. And everyone was like, this game looks boring. And I'm like, the gameplay is boring. Like, the raid that he put up there was a boring-ass raid. Right? Which is kind of like, yeah, you can make the game look boring if you want. And I think, it just depends, right? I think it depends on how you want to play it. Like, you can make this game very aggro. Which is kind of interesting because I often see people will complain about the third-person aspect to it. They'll say, oh, because you have third-person perspective, you can corner peek, you can do all that, and it makes the game super passive. That did not happen in this game, right? All the fights that I had, the only time it ended up being passive is like if you guys are in like one hallway, and even then, it wasn't that passive, right? It was very rare that we got into like a stalemate situation. The way the map was built, you were always encouraged to find another way around to get a flank in. And so, the fights, to me, were all about movement, and which turned out to be aggro. And so I think the game can be extremely action oriented, but it's not so much so that you can't like sneak around and be tactful with your movements. You know, I think that's the key thing that we keep hitting on. It's like a really great middle ground. All right, casual player, when you craft something, you can upgrade it afterwards. So it's specific to weapons, right? So I made a video recently about the armor system, and I also explained how the weapons work. And basically, the way I believe is that armor can mirror weapons. But to talk about weapons specifically, the way it works, you craft a weapon, right? And then you can upgrade that weapon from like its current level 1 to level 2, level 3, level 4, right? And each upgrade increases its stats in some kind of specific way based on the specific weapon. So in one case, the Rattler, it got a bigger magazine. The Stitcher had better horizontal recoil, whatever, right? But then you also had attachments. So you can get a relatively cheap gun and you can start investing pretty heavily in it, and it starts turning into a bit of a beast afterwards. Owazo, yeah, even though I haven't played Arc Raiders, even though I had the chance during Tech Test 2, boring is one of the words I choose the least. The moment-to-moment gameplay looks so immersive. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I can make any game look boring. Just depends on how you play it, you know? Creature Eye, man, welcome to the chat, man. Appreciate you. If everyone has third-person advantage, then no one has an advantage. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people just don't get that. Like, oh, they have an advantage. Like, yeah, and? Use yours too, man. The difference is that no one can cut you down without you knowing them. Like, you have the opportunity to check around corners and to check over terrain, so the probability of someone being somewhere nearby and you not knowing is a lot less. So you get righted out less. So one of the most annoying ways to die in an extraction shooter is by getting righted out. New guy. Do you have any info on controller versus keyboard and mouse as far as aim assist is with spotting raiders and not having ADS? I feel like AA is always on a topic combo with cross-platform shooters. I don't have any info on that, to be honest. I play strictly keyboard and mouse. Most people I play with play keyboard and mouse. But I'll be on the lookout. I know I have a few people in my community that do play controller, so I'll be asking them about what they feel about that. And I'm sure somebody will put out the info. If it's super aggressive, I'm sure somebody will put out a video showing how aggressive it is. Yeah. Why does a lot of person don't get skepticism due to third person? Then again, my most played shooter is Fortnite, so I'm kind of used to it. I mean, at the end of the day, right, it's a preference. And it's really hard for me to argue logically with that preference when that preference is not really based in I wouldn't say it isn't based in logic, right? There you go. Real estate gamer, he plays controller. Like, if you maybe you can comment a little bit about how the aim assist is in that game. I'm sure a new guy would probably be very grateful for that. But in terms of the skepticism, like, the only logical argument that I can see about being against third person is basically about gameplay, in terms of just like, hey, it allows you to gather information from cover without exposing yourself. Right. And I can see that logic and it tracks, but this game has been built with third person in mind specifically. And the Embark has stated outright, simply flipping a switch and turning it to first person will not fix any issues. It'll make it worse because this game was built for third person. And it shows. I think a lot of the time when we're fighting and we're moving through the maps, it doesn't feel like, oh, because this third person was in third person, this fight would have ended up differently in first person. Of course it would have ended up differently in first person. I would have acted differently if I was in first person. I wouldn't have assumed someone wasn't there. That's what it is. And I think, Horseman, you said it the best. If everyone has the same guns, the abilities, and it all boils down to the map knowledge, tactics, and even confidence in pushing or flanking, etc. Everyone has the exact same abilities. And the way they designed it is it doesn't end up being a passive game. So I feel like anyone who says, oh, third persons always end up being passive games, play this game. 17th through 19th, you're gonna have a chance to play this game for the very first time for free. Open, try it for yourself. The game is not passive. So that's the only logical reason that I can see. Everything else is based off of either emotion, preference, or whatever, you know? Well, so honestly, the third person view is my favorite design choice. It allows you to actually see beautiful graphics and level design. Also, it helps show your skin off too. So like from a monetary perspective, it's really important because you get to have cool skins. You get to see how your character looks, and you can also see your character animations in terms of like how they vault and climb things or whatever it is. So that's a huge advantage as well. Jay, do we have any info on the tick rate of the servers? The finals had 20 tick servers. I don't know anything about that, man. Um, yeah, from what I saw, there wasn't really a situation where I died around corners. Usually, when I died, I kind of knew why I died. I kind of knew that I was getting shot, and there wasn't like oh man, I got hit, and then I was behind the corner. How'd he hit me? It never really happened to me, but I don't know anything about the server side of things, you know. Soldier, see, I never really came from SOCOM. I was like mostly just Halo, you know, Call of Duty, like first-person shooters, man. And I've played third-person shooters in the past. I can't really remember. Oh, I played. I think it's one of the more recent ones is probably Rogue Company. Anyone who ever heard of Rogue Company, I'll be surprised. Um, I'll be really surprised if y'all have heard that game. Let's see here. Let's do that. But you know, for me, it's always been kind of a preference. Like, is the game good? Right? Is the game good? And I remember making a video a really long time ago. Yeah. It's Slide is arena shooter, like a hero-based arena shooter. I had a lot of fun with it. Jay, I didn't really have that time happen to me either, but I'd hate for that to be a turnoff for some more hardcore gamers. This game is sick. Everyone should try it. Honestly, man, I don't think they're trying to attract the hardcores, to be honest now. Sledgenger, is it dead now? Yeah, it's been dead for a while. It's been dead for a while, unfortunately. Um, Here's the funny thing about it is, let's see here. Here's the interesting thing about it, right? Is that I made a video about this a while ago, and I made this comparison. I said people who don't like third-person shooters, for the sake of not liking third-person shooters, it's an emotional argument, right? And I made my point doing this one. Made you guys think about it. Okay, let's imagine your perfect game. All of you in your head, think about your perfect game. If it literally had everything perfect about the game, but it didn't have third person, but it didn't have first person. It was only third person. Would that stop you from playing it? And I feel like if your answer is yes, I feel like that's an emotional answer. Like intellectually speaking, like if you had your perfect game and you couldn't handle one flaw, like one thing like that, I feel like that's such a small hurdle to let you keep you from enjoying that. You know, that's just me. Pre-try Rogue Company, not real company. Yeah, right. But yeah, man. But yeah, so one thing, guys, I want to thank you guys all for joining me here and like chatting with me. It helps me pass the time between Tep Test 2 and launch just as much as it helps you. helps me practice my streaming because honestly, this is new to me. Um, and it's been great. I mean, it's been fun doing this. If you guys are looking for something else to play between now and the 17th, I believe a game called Sand. If you guys want to look it up, I do have a video on my channel regarding that game in the previous test that we had on it. But supposedly one of their tests is coming out, and it's going to be this week. So keep an eye on for that. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to play an extraction game if you're not into, let's say, ABI. If you're not into ABI, that's another extraction game you can play. And also, if you're looking for another extraction game to play, you can play Exoborn. It's currently doing its closed test right now. Unfortunately, it is under NDA, so I can't play it on screen. So, unfortunate. Max Blay, what's up, Gecko, man? Thank you so much for showing up to this stream. Appreciate you. Appreciate your support. Right. And funny, the weird thing about this is that that's one thing we haven't talked about here as well. For those of you who haven't played the gameplay is smooth. Like, it is stupid smooth. Right? It runs really, really well. And if you look at the minimum specs, I think the recommended specs was like a 370 or something like that. Like, that was the recommended spec. That wasn't even like, I was shocked. Like, I actually shocked at doing that, you know? Splinter Shield's Exoborn still needs work. I feel like I've been saying that for like a year now. Exoborn still needs work. I've been saying that for like a year. You know, I'm not sure where that game's going to head out to be honest. I think it has good bones. I think it has good bones. But just doesn't quite hit, you know? I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't quite hit, you know? Jeremiah Cooper, can you tell us more about lobbies and how a solo person would find others in a random game? Does the game have friendly fire? Okay, so last question first. The game does not have friendly fire. So if you're grouped up, like we are here on the screen that you see right now, there is no friendly fire. So that's first. Second, the solo lobbies, if you come in solo, it's going to try to put you in a game with other solos. Keyword, try. Now, in my experience, every time it was going to be solos, right? There was occasionally where this wasn't the case. So you might run into a duo, you might run into a trio every once in a great while, right? But I feel like that's a great thing because when you're running it across people, you shouldn't automatically go, cool, I know they're all dead now. You shouldn't, that tension shouldn't go away because, all right, cool, fight's finished, no more danger. But it also wasn't unfair in the sense that if you're running around solo, you can be running around a lot of solos as well. So I hope that answers your question. Max Blade, I was running on a 280 super on low to medium settings with 80 FPS. See, right, man, just, yeah. Real Estate Gamer, that's why I don't get the IGN review. He must have literally played it on a potato on the lowest settings. How did he look 20 times better on my Legion Go? Well, I can tell you why. IGN's incompetent. They've been irrelevant for decades now. That's why. Like, they prioritize hiring not based on talent. And I'll leave it at that. Waslow, yeah, I'm actually so happy that I didn't play the tech test. I only really got interested in the game in August. I've never been more excited for a game. 2 months of withdrawal instead of 5. Dude, you got lucky. Honestly, you got lucky. Right? I'm going to tell you a horror story, Waslow. So I played the game for the first time in 2023. And then nothing, and I mean nothing, from that game for 18 months. Right? In that time, they were like, all right, we're going to finish the finals before we put out Arc Raiders. That's the only news we got. But there was no playtests, dead silence for 18 months, basically, other than that news. So, brother, 4 months, 2 months, I can do that standing on my head, especially when there is a date, like an actual release date where it goes, cool, this sucker's coming out. You know? Master Nate, while no arc you played, seen any active matter? It is fun. The PvE, the FPV is blurring the lines of Tarkov fans early. Man, I played active matter in a closed alpha. It needed a lot of work when I played it, but I do have a buddy who played active matter considerably, and let's just say the early access is coming out rough. They need some work. And so I'm not a game that I'm particularly, thinking that should be something that people shoot for. If you're interested in that kind of shooting in terms of like modern warfare type stuff, ABI is significantly more accessible. ABI is significantly more accessible. I think it's very easy to play. The time to kill may be really low for your tastes, but I think it does a fair job of kind of giving you a extraction shooter feel. John, how do lootable recipes work? Do your teammates see the same recipe in a locker if they already have it? Yeah. I got repeats all the time. I got door jams. I think I got like three door jams total, and it was just this constant. It just depends on if you were lucky or not to get something you wanted and what you didn't want. So yeah. All right, guys. I'm probably gonna call it a night at this point to get things working on. I got some things to handle right now. I want to thank everybody here for showing up. Let's bring us a chat here. I want to thank everybody for showing up, chatting out, having some fun. Dude, you guys have made this a blast. Tired a little bit. Sorry. You guys have made this so fun. All right, I appreciate doing this every week. If you guys are looking to group up with more people during the actual stress test or even for launch, we've got Discord down in the links below. For the intro, I'm going to play that again because I feel like it deserves to be played again. The music was made by the guy that I marked on there. It's also in the description. Check him out. He made the music for the intro. Fire, absolutely fire song. Right? So check out the Discord. Follow me on Twitch if you haven't already. Next stream is going to be next week on Tuesdays at 5:30. That's basically when I do it, like once a week. I do have a video coming out this weekend, especially useful if you've never played an extraction shooter. I think for this crowd, for you guys who are sophisticated alcoholics, it may not be necessary, but you might want to send it to a buddy here and there. Who maybe may or may not know what they're getting into. But yeah, I'm going to leave you guys with the intro, and please enjoy this this video here. Again, music made by the guy marked there. Peace.
All the raiders I've met say the same thing. You cannot control what happens up there, but you can decide how you deal with it.
Breathe. Let your body settle into a slow rhythm. Clear your mind of all distractions. You don't have to walk this path alone. Here, you are in control.